Week one is in the books.
Man.
Welcome back to Just Hoop Talk. You're here with Justin Henry, Will Thompson, and today we're going to be going over week one of the NBA. The NBA is back. We're loving it. We've seen everything already happen, and it's only been first week. So we got a lot to talk about here. Talk about some teams that are on the rise, some teams struggling, some players struggling, and some teams getting blown out. Also a COVID case. We got it all coming to you. Just Hoop Talk. Stay tuned.
Get it.
You are now tuned in to the next best thing. Justin Henry, Will Thompson.
Yeah,
Let's go.
y'all can talk that talk, but this is just Hoop Talk. Updates on the news, analysis who's who gon' win, who gon' lose. Is it true? Is it true? This is just Hoop Talk. This is just Hoop Talk.
All right, Will. So we got a lot of things to cover, man. I'm just glad basketball is back, man. We've had a chance to do our season previews. If you haven't, check them out. If you haven't liked or subscribed, either do that. But, man, we've covered it all. And finally, we got some tip-off action. And, man, did we get a good first week in the books. We got some teams out there, man, that are on the rise and surprising. And then we got some teams that we expected to be doing a lot better than they are, kind of struggling out the gate. So, Will, what are your first overall impressions of this back-to-basketball feeling and results that we've seen so far?
Yeah, it's been interesting. A couple things. One thing that stood out to me was it was good to see teams back in their own stadiums, in their own arenas.
Yeah.
They got the music, the ambiance. Obviously, the fans are – well, some of them have fans.
Really? I didn't see that.
But, yeah, I think I saw in New Orleans they had some fans in the stands. Somewhere else they had fans as well, which
I know they got the little
weird.
Cutouts too. I've seen a few of those.
Yeah, those too. But it was good to see kind of the background music, the same PA announcers, that type of stuff was cool to see. Getting a little bit back to normal, so that was cool. But I think you saw a little bit of rest for sure with some teams that have been away for a while. And then I think you saw a little bit of fatigue too, man. Like we saw the teams so far that made deep runs in the bubble are struggling early on in the season, which is interesting. And so it's probably, I'm assuming it's bubble fatigue, like those guys they just literally were playing. So some of the teams that were rested were a little rusty, and then some surprise teams kind of jumping out of the gate, man. It's been interesting so far for sure.
Yeah, and I think you'll see a lot of the back-to-backs being sad. Like we're starting to see some of these star players going out with, I'm resting already, and we're just getting started with back-to-back, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's weird.
The shortened and compressed season we're going to have. But it has been good to see basketball back, man. And I think one thing you're also seeing in this early season is that some teams are really coming out the gates hungry, man. It's like the bubble fed into this next season. Like that intensity is still there for some teams. And then other teams are kind of just winging it. And it sucks because we didn't get that full offseason, a full offseason of free agency, full offseason of training camp, just time for these guys to gel. And so you're also seeing a lot of teams with new pieces out the gates struggling, like really having a hard time gelling. And it's not necessarily where you can just throw talent together and make things happen. Sometimes when you add pieces together to a team that's a brand new nucleus, it's tough to see. And so we've seen a few of those. And one of the teams that really stuck out to me, I thought this team was going to have a really strong start, and they are having the opposite. That's the Washington Wizards, man. Kind of caught me off guard. And Westbrook, he comes in and normally brings a lot of energy to a team. He's still doing that, but this team is not who we thought they were, man. And I don't know if it's one of those things like, remember with the Heat when they had the big three, and it's like it's time for them to gel. And you saw the Lakers kind of struggle out the gates, and it's like, okay, once they got it in motion, it was good.
Yeah.
This team isn't that caliber. But I wonder if there's still some of those elements of chemistry and just getting focused there on their plate.
Right. Yeah, that you have to wonder about that. Is it going to take them time to adjust to Russell Westbrook? I don't necessarily see Russ adjusting to them. I think he's going to do his thing, right?
Yeah.
So can Bradley Beal adjust to that and the other guys adjust to that? And can they make those pieces fit? Because they have some good pieces. I think that's why we had them making the playoffs this year. You look at the team, they got a solid roster. They have some good pieces, but do they fit as a cohesive unit? And are they able to be effective? And I think one thing we talked about, too, with them was defensively they were going to struggle, man.
Yeah.
And I don't think Russ helps with that at all. And so they've got to get that figured out because they were bad defensively last year, and they definitely didn't get better. So if you can't stop people, man, you're going to have a hard time in this league. So I don't know if that could just be an all-year thing, man.
It might be, and it could be back to that thing you mentioned too, Some of these teams that did come out are a little bit more ready, and some of them are a little bit more flat. So one of the teams that did come out ready that hasn't played since March, the Atlanta Hawks. We talked about them too and their progression. The Hawks came out ready, man. They're undefeated right now and clicking on all cylinders, even with a few of their pieces still missing. Clint Capella was just on the mend, about to come back. I think he just came back tonight.
Yeah, he just came back.
Rondo just came back. So
they're
just starting to get healthy all the way, and they're still clicking, still firing on all cylinders. So this team is going to be kind of scary. They're young, they're deep. I like this Hawks team, man.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about the Hawks is like they added a ton of pieces as well, but I think they have a clear leader. I think they have a clear direction. Trey is the guy.
Yep. He's
running the show. And as he goes, they go. And what I like a lot about him is his intensity this year, man. He looks ready. He's out there getting fired up, getting into it. People like typically he's kind of more of a laid back type of guy, but he looks intense, man. He's definitely wants to get into the playoffs.
Him and Grayson Allen still going at it, man.
Yeah. Oh, always. He definitely is looking to shake off kind of this idea that he's not a winner. Especially early in his career. We know that he's always going to be compared to Luka. So I think he wants – I mean, the guy averaged almost 30 and 10 last year and really didn't get – no one said much about it. So he knows he has to win this year. And he's coming out with a different intensity. And it seems like the team is really following him and he's leading the way. So that's exciting to see for them. And they might be better than even we thought, bro. They really might be. So I'm excited to see this team.
They might be better than we thought. There's another team out there, too, who might be better than we even thought.
Oh,
that's the
my
Nets,
goodness.
bro. The Nets, they came out on fire to start the season. I know they've had a couple losses here, but I think that also comes with the rest that we're going to see from KD, from Kyrie, also losing Spencer Dinwiddie, unfortunately, for the season.
That's tough,
but this team, man, they are going to be fun to watch. They're going to be scary for other teams. This Kyrie and KD duo is going to be a problem, and that depth on the bench is also going to be a problem. What's your thoughts on this Nets team, man?
Yeah, I think I was watching and I'm looking, and they pretty much have a playoff team coming off the bench, man. Like, you watch the end of the game, and these are their scrubs, and, like, those are the guys that made the playoffs last year. So it's crazy to see this team, dude. And I think what was interesting to me watching them was it looks like Kyrie is the leader of this team. I don't know if you noticed that. You picked up on that? Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. And so that's really interesting. Like, he looks like he's matured a little bit mentally. He's taking control of this team, and he's leading them in the right direction. He's saying all the right things. He's doing all the right things on the court. And that's what we talked about, right? We said that if Kyrie can get right mentally, they're going to be tough to beat, man. And KD is just out there just getting buckets, bro. Like, just go out there and get buckets.
It's the perfect setup because it gives them almost a reverse of what they both chased and missed. So, obviously, Kyrie was on a team with LeBron. LeBron was the main dog, wanted to be the dog. Kyrie wanted to be the dog. They clashed, right?
Yeah.
So, Kyrie left, looked for his own team. It didn't work because he didn't have that number 2 piece. Now he has somebody who doesn't necessarily want to be that dude, the top dog, which is why KD left OKC because he didn't like the barker. He liked somebody else a little bit more calm and Steph, but he wasn't that same type of, like, dominant personality. He was still the man in Golden State. And it seems like coming off this injury, everybody knows KD's the best player.
Right.
And now it gives them the sense of, like, okay, we're equals. I think Kyrie and KD, they're equals, but Kyrie's like, I can be the voice. I can kind of be the leader of the team. Whereas KD's like, man, I can just play and come back and play ball and get buckets.
Yeah.
You get me when you need me. Like, if I need to take a closing shot, I can. If you need to, you can. It's a weird chemistry, man, but it works. At least it looks like it's working right now. And this Nets team, man, I think they're going to win some ball games for sure this year.
Yeah, I think that's such a good assessment, man. Like, KD wants to be that dude that gets buckets, but he doesn't necessarily want to be vocal about it, right? Like, he's not the vocal leader. We always knew Draymond was kind of that guy in Golden State. But Draymond, I feel like at times got under KD's skin a little bit, and I think that's part of the reason he's not there anymore. So I think Kyrie might be able to push the right buttons, you know, get under everybody else's skin and let KD do KD, bro. Just go out there, give buckets, be the best scorer in the world, and leave him alone after that, bro. You know what I mean? So it might, man, it looks good. They got depth. They got bigs. They got guys that can rebound, block shots. They got guys that can come out and defend. They look scary, man. They really do.
Yeah, you talk about chemistry issues, and then we head out west, and you still look at a team that may have chemistry issues. I'm not sure, but when you're getting beat by 50 points in the first half, we got to talk about you, and that's the Los Angeles Clippers, man. 77-27 in the first half of an NBA game that's not a preseason game is unacceptable. That's unacceptable. Yeah. And then to come out the next game, and I think they won by 30, 40 points the next game. Like, this is a Jekyll and Hyde team, man, without Kawhi, who got hurt, unfortunately. We'll see him back soon. But you know they're going to have rest days with Kawhi, with Paul George. They're going to have team chemistry issues. Like, is this team really a good fit? That's a question we're going to have to address not just now, but throughout this whole season is how does this team rebound off of chemistry issues last year and kind of piecing it together this year remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's, the frustrating thing is, like, we just saw this with them taking nights off, right? And I think they kind of mailed it in, right? Like, they knew Kawhi was out. They knew the Mavs were 0-2, so they were going to come out fired up to get their first win. So it was kind of like, we know we're going to lose this game. We'll move on to the next one. Instead of coming out and competing and trying to get a win and trying to win without your guy and being let, Paul George leading the way, like, they just kind of like whatever it. Yeah. And we saw that so often last year, bro. Like, that was the most frustrating thing about this team is they had that whatever attitude. They could go down, 3-2, or they could get tied 3-3, and they would just turn it up in Game 7, and it's, man, for whatever reason.
I hate bringing this up, but Paul George, man, his consistency is going to be something we're going to have to focus on, man, because obviously he's not the top dog of that team, but they need him to be the number 2 for sure, and sometimes the number 1 when Kawhi is out. And his consistency is going to be an issue that will plague this team. And it's a matter of, can he step up to the plate and become that 1B, which the team needs him to be more than just a number 2. He didn't want to be a Ray Allen, right? And so if you don't want to be a Ray Allen, you got to step up in times when your team is down by 40, 30, 50 points. You got to be the guy that says, no, we ain't letting this happen no more. So I think that consistency thing is going to remain to be seen.
Yeah, that's kind of been the frustrating thing with Paul George so far. Is he turns it on and off, right? Like, you see him, he looks great, and then all of a sudden he'll just disappear, man. I was watching the highlights from that game, and I'm like, wait, where was Paul George throughout all this, bro? Like, fading in the back, bro. Just he's just out there floating around, you know what I mean? Like, not a guy who's willing to assert himself when things get tough, man. And that's not a good thing to say about a guy.
Yeah, you got to – hopefully it changes, man, because when things get tough, a lot of times that's when you need somebody to step up. You need somebody to be like, hey, we want to play. There's actually a team that we have to talk about because you're a fan. The Sacramento Kings are stepping up to the plate in a major way. Man. This team is out there competing heavily. Yes. And we're seeing De'Aaron Fox take his play to a whole nother level. Man, we're seeing some other players, some other vets. Harrison Barnes is really playing at an elite level. And obviously, the rookie they drafted, Tyrese Halliburton, who we may or may not hear about on Will's upcoming show, is a problem, man. That boy is a problem. And just even the short time we've seen him coming off the bench, he is going to be a difference maker for this team. Will, what are your thoughts on your Sacramento Kings and the start that they put together this season?
I think we talked a little bit about this too in there, because we dogged them a little bit. Yeah. But we said they're a good team, right? We said they're a good team. They're going to fight. And they're going to give people a problem every night. The most impressive thing so far, I think, is really the fact, not just the fact that they're 3-1, but the fact that they've played the Suns twice and the Nuggets twice and are still 3-1. So that's really impressive. But I think the most impressive thing with this team has just been defensively. Like, they clearly have a whole nother level of intensity defensively. And I think it starts with De'Aaron. You finally see De'Aaron sitting down, man. Sitting down and playing defense on every possession. Yes. He's competing, getting out in the passing lane. And it's really, like, reverberated throughout the entire team. And
Buddy
the guys
too, bro. Buddy's playing these lanes a little bit better than he did before.
Yeah. Got to give him his props. So they've looked really good. It's still early. I'm not going to get too excited as a Kings fan. I got to, keep it calm, man. Keep it calm. But it looks good, man. And the young rookie, man, he's he's obviously he's talented, but he's poised, man. He's not in a hurry. He's not rushed.
He plays like
comfortable.
a vet.
Yeah, he's comfortable. He's been really impressive. So it looks great, man.
Gotta like what you've been seeing out of the Kings, man. And I think we were really hyped on like, hey, this team in the future is going to be a problem. They're going to be competitive throughout. I think they're going to remind people of that Suns team last year, where there's just no quit, because the Suns started off really hot last year.
They did.
Kind of died off in the middle of the season, and then when it came back to that bubble time, teams were looking at them like, oh, we don't want to play these guys.
Right.
And we hope they don't get in. So I think the Kings can have that same type of optimism. I'm not sure they're a lock for playoffs or even destined for playoffs.
It's still a long way.
But they're going to be competing, man.
Yeah. We got to talk about Bagley too. I got to show some love to Bagley, man. A walking double-double. He's been competing out there, playing hard. He still has a little bit of trouble defensively, but I think he'll get better. He's a dog, man. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be a problem in the West.
One more West storyline I want to talk about before we get off. Obviously, the Denver Nuggets came out the gate struggling a little bit. But will this be the first time we see a center lead the league in assists? Nikola is averaging like 12, 13 assists right now. And depending on when you're watching this, but he might be the first center to ever lead the league in assists. I think the highest is like Wilt Chamberlain with 8.5.
That's crazy.
But this could be a different dynamic, and I think this could also be a different version of what we've seen from this team and just the big man guard play kind of thing. Do you think that this Nuggets team is doing the right thing by running the offense exclusively through Nikola Jokic?
Yeah, man. I think, and I don't know, is Jamal Murray hurt? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, he got a concussion, but he's probably gonna be back here in the next game.
Okay. Yeah, I came in the game kind of late, but I mean, he can do everything on the court. That's the scary thing about him, and he's got the size.
Yeah,
he has that crazy vision. He has the feel for the game, and so I think at the end of the day, like whether you're a big or a point guard or whatever position you're playing, when you have a feel for the game, get the ball in that dude's hands, man. Because he understands positioning on the court. He understands angles. Yeah. It's crazy, bro. Like every time he has the ball, you're just like, you see people, they understand like, okay, I need to make a cut, or if I can get open, he's going to find me. Like, it doesn't matter where I'm at, he'll find me. So it's infectious, man. And so when he gets the ball, you see the other guys kind of moving differently. And if whoever it is, whether it's your big man or not, you got to give him the ball and let him do his thing, because he's a tough cover for anyone in the league right now.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see that the offense is just exclusively running through him, whether he's bringing the ball up the court, whether he is, in the high post, just letting people cut around them and finding somebody who gets open. It's crazy to see.
Yeah.
He's kicking out in double teams. Like, he's playing perfect basketball, early front runner for MVP, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think he's playing at a very high level. Can't wait to see if he averages a triple-double or double-digit assists as a center. That would be one of the craziest storylines of the season. You have to book that in there. I don't know if I've seen I can't think of a better passing big man than I've ever seen in the league, man.
Yeah, no, man. And it's wild to see. He's probably the slowest player on the court. Like, he's not super coordinated either. Like, he looks like he's falling over half the time. But he's just got a vision, man. He just has a feel for the game. And it's almost hard for people to guard because they really don't know what to expect from him.
Yep.
Like, he'll shoot that awkward shot from deep, or he'll drive past you and put his body on you and get you behind him and drop a dime or kick it out to the corner. He can make any pass on the court. So he's a tough cover, man. He really is. And you don't know, like, you put a wing on him, do you put a big on him? Like, it's really hard to
he's at that skinnier shape too, so now he's a little quicker. He's probably still the same strength. Like, that's a tough cover, man, for anybody.
Yep.
And one more thing before we get out of here, man. The Houston Rockets had our first COVID scare of the season.
Yeah.
Obviously, John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins missed some of the early games, and James Harden was out doing his thing and joined the team, man. I don't want to dive too much into the actual Houston Rockets team, but do you think we get a whole season out of this? Because it's different than football. Like, the guys in football, they miss a week or potentially 2 weeks. You saw an entire team go without a quarterback. In the NBA, if these guys are missing a week or two, that's 3 to 4 games. 72-game season. What are your thoughts on this season, man? And do you think we'll be able to play it out? Like, I know we talked about extended benches or like bringing up G League guys, but I'm not sure how this thing's all going to play out because as we go the season, if there's, a starting five missing or another instance where 3 of the top players are missing from a team, I'm starting to wonder how we're going to be able to come around this thing, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because things are different in different parts of the country, right? Like, I don't know exactly what's going on in Louisiana or in Florida. I just know really what's happening here. And I know for a lot of the players, when they talk about, when they go to LA to play the Clippers or the Lakers, there's nothing to do, right? Everything's closed, bro. Like, there's really no reason for them to be out doing things, coming in contact with other people. There's really nothing going on here in California. But I know in other places, like, for instance, with James Harden or DeMarcus and John Wall going to the barbershop. Well, the barbershops aren't even open here, so
yeah,
there's less opportunity in certain parts of the country, and you just hope that the guys are being responsible and doing what they're supposed to be doing, because literally, like you talk about, 5 players are out on the football team and they're still going to play the game. If there are 5 players out on the NBA team, that's going to be interesting, man. I don't know what the hell's going to happen,
It's going to be tough to overcome, man. And so hopefully we're not getting any late games. Like, I think in one of the games for the NFL even, it was like they had to take somebody out who was in warmups. Des Bryant had to come out of the game right before the game started. And it's like, hopefully we're not getting into, such a close contact game. I think everything, obviously, hopefully will go smooth. We'll have an NBA season. Everything will go as normal. We'll hit a bubble later in the year. We're going to be praising the NBA again about how things went. But when you have things like what the Rockets had happen the first week, you start to think, all right, hopefully this doesn't become a trend throughout the season. So I know there's things in place. We got more basketball to watch, more things to talk. So be on the lookout for our other shows we have coming, Cap or Facts, coming to you soon. My personal show. Will has his own show as well, The Rooks, coming up here very soon. Make sure you stay tuned. Subscribe to Just Hoop Talk. Another edition in the books. We are out. Week 1. See you next time.